What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Mewzings podcast studio. I am very excited today to be joined by a young up-and-coming talent, Mr. Dominic Gomez. How you doing today, Dom?
Doing great, doing great. How are you?
Awesome, man. I'm doing good. I'm excited to get you on here. I think you are one of the first people who's a listener
Oh
that
yeah.
reached out and has some work they're working on with the Kickstarter and everything, and you were a fan of the show, but you're also an awesome artist too, and happy to be able to get on here and spread the word about what you're working on.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean I found the show through Joshua, another young artist too.
Yep.
And so then I watched that episode and the Ron Garney interview, and so yeah, I keep
Oh
up with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. And we were talking a little bit before the show. You got some awesome artwork on the walls there behind you. You got
Yep.
Todd McFarlane Spider-Man poster. You got some Wizard covers up there.
Yep. Mark
Now
Mark
Wizard,
Bagley.
you know, as young as you are, Wizard's quite a bit before your time, a little bit, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the funny thing is I have like this huge, like my dad would collect all of these Wizard magazine comics, or not comics, but the magazine. So we
Yes,
just have a ton of them in the backlog in our garage. But I
that's
actually
so
saw
cool.
them through the like Cartoonist Kayfabe channel,
Yep.
when they were going through that. So yeah.
And then your dad's like, look at this. We have
Yeah,
all these right here.
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm assuming your dad was into comics as well.
Yes, he drew comics. Well, he wanted to be an artist for a while in high school and stuff, and he drew
Yep.
this really cool Spawn and Batman recreation.
Yeah, if you have it
Um,
there, man, hold it up for everybody to see.
um,
Wow. Good stuff.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
very
so
cool.
I tried recreating it when I was his age, but mine wasn't even that close to his when I did it. So it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. It takes time, man. As you know, like the more you practice, the better you get, just like anything. So, and by the judging by that stack of pages you held up when we were getting ready,
Oh
you've
yeah,
been hard at work.
definitely.
So tell me a little bit how you got into comics. Was it through your dad that you kind of got that inspiration, comics and art and all that type of stuff? Is the art always been in your blood?
The art comes from my grandpa. He does
Okay.
he does car paintings, like he paints cars. So that's kind of where the art part comes from. But the comic book side, um, Spider-Man movies, like the Tobey Maguire ones, that was huge for my childhood. So I just grew
Yeah.
up watching all of those. And then my dad, he loved the movies too, so he would take me to every MCU movie that was coming out. And so
Nice.
that eventually led me to like wanting to learn more about these characters, and I went out and checked out some comic books.
And then your art kind of went in that direction, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, yeah. The art came second. The Well, I actually originally just wanted to be a writer for comic
Right.
books, and so then I saw that if I was going to make comic books, I need to draw them too, because I was only a kid. And so I looked up how to draw comics, and then the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way video, the
Oh yeah.
VHS that came up.
Yeah.
So I watched that like a million times, just for like, I guess the vibe of it like really spoke to me, because it's like, oh, this is kind of old, but it's on YouTube, so this is kind of cool.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so
All that stuff's on there now. Stuff that
mhm.
I used to have to, put tapes in a VHS player. You're now able to watch on YouTube. It's too cool.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so I wanted to draw, and so I studied that, tried doing that, and eventually it kind of just led to me just wanting to be more of an artist instead of a writer. And yeah,
Yeah. Do you know the secret behind that how to draw comics the Marvel way video?
what's the
That
secret?
Mr. John Buscema is not actually drawing
Oh,
in the
really?
videos.
Oh, that actually, I just found that out right now.
He is acting like he's drawing. Yeah, all those images were already done for the book, so he's just like going over them with his pencil real light and acting like he's
That's funny.
as a little movie magic. He did actually draw them though, just not while he was sitting there with Stan on the camera narrating it and everything.
That's funny. I did not know that until right now.
Yeah, they did a good job if you didn't know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, what were some of the comics that you came up with that you took inspiration from?
Um, well, I'm lucky because I have the Marvel Unlimited at my at my fingertips. So I was
Yes.
like, I was kind of the comic book fan that I guess kids my generation that we kind of like to start from the beginning. And so I went to Spider-Man issue 1 and I actually dug it and I read it up until Gwen Stacy died. And then I
Okay.
jumped ahead to
So
the
you
John.
went way old school then.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Nice.
And then I read the Straczynski and Romita Jr. like 2000s run where
Yep.
like Aunt May finds out he's Spider-Man and like,
Yeah.
so that was like that's like my favorite run of comics, that little section right before it gets bad with like, Sins Past or One More Day and stuff like that.
Right, right. So were you a fan of John Romita Jr.'s artwork on that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Because
was a huge fan, yeah.
he's kind of an acquired taste for people. Like
Oh yeah.
I enjoy his work, but some people are like, I don't like it. The characters are too blocky or whatever. You know how subjective it is with style and everything, though. Like,
Right.
I don't think people realize like often they'll take things at face value like that and just get turned off by the style, but not realize that he's such a master. He could draw in any style he wants. Like if you look
Right.
at his old work, it's nothing like that. And he's switched over and then every now and again he'll kind of switch back and forth. Like that's true mastery right there. You can't just do that without having a solid mastery of everything.
Yeah, exactly. And especially it helps because I read his first little bit with Hobgoblin, so I saw his old style, and then
Yeah.
when I saw his newer one, I was like, okay, this is like definitely a choice, and like I wanted to try to learn from it because I was
Yeah.
only in high school then. So yeah.
So is it safe to say that Spider-Man's your favorite character?
Oh yeah, yeah. My shrine right here.
I love it. I love it. You got some classic wizard covers. I see the Bagley stuff, and I think that's like
Mhm.
a Bart Sears.
Oh yeah.
It might have been when he was signing it as Whitman. He had a
Mhm.
pen name on there, and you
I
do the
was so
Whitman stuff.
confused. I was so confused. I was trying to find the arts because I have this Wolverine Sabretooth, and it's my
Yeah, I know
favorite.
exactly which. I have it downstairs. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yep, it's my favorite Wolverine drawing, like, ever,
Yep.
and I was like, "Who's the artist?" I'm trying to study their work, but yeah, it ended up being Bart Sears.
I've been working now for about, gosh, probably since I started the podcast on getting Bart on here.
Oh, okay.
I've talked to his wife and she's like, "Oh yeah, he'd love to come on," but they're like super busy. Like I think he's at a convention this weekend. He's like all over the place, which actually ultimately just makes me happy because he's
Yeah,
such a legend and a lot of times you see these legends not get their due. Like
right.
they'll be pushed off in a little booth somewhere in the corner and not in main artist alley, and those are all people I grew up on, and I'm like, man, they need to be getting more props than this. That's Bart Sears is a friggin' legend, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, his work's still quality today, like, I wish, they would put him on a Wolverine book or something.
Oh, I
That'd be
know.
sick.
Did you ever? I'm assuming since you have all the wizards to go through, did you enjoy the little drawing tutorial section? Like he
Oh,
started it with Brutes and Babes, and then it went over to Crash Course with Greg Capullo on it, and then they did where they were like having different artists each month coming in and like showing like, here's how to do storytelling, here's how to do rendering. Did you eat that stuff up?
yeah, yeah, actually, I started to go through that, and actually what the I guess with me, Jim Lee, his art streams on Twitch, like, I
Oh
would
yeah,
that was like kind of how I also got into comics even more because the comics, the Marvel Way thing, it was cool when I was watching those videos and I tried to draw along with it, but it could have easily just been like, oh, I found this on YouTube. I tried drawing for a week and then I kind of stopped.
yeah.
But then I saw Jim Lee streaming on Twitch and that really, like, I watched all of them, drew along with them and
Yeah,
everything. So
that
yeah.
was a game changer for me too because watching him and always being like I'm a lifelong Jim Lee fan, man. Like since way back in the day, like when he was doing a lot of his early work, and of course a fan of all the obvious stuff like X-Men and Wildcats. That's back there on the spinner rack.
Oh,
That's actually Punisher trade paperback that he did on the Punisher. But seeing him on the stream and watching him actually do it live and seeing how much he erases and
Yeah.
like how he will get something down that just to you or me looks phenomenal and he'll like erase the whole thing. He's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not right. And
I
like
know.
to me, as somebody who aspires to be a better artist, it was very freeing to see that and realize like no, he's not trying to make it perfect right out the gate. He's continually refining and going through that process. That's something I wish I could have seen or learned earlier on in my art adventures.
Right. Right. Because it's easy to think that you have to get it right in the first try, which I
Exactly.
struggled with for a while too. And then
Yeah.
luckily though, like I saw those. I was able to have access to those sooner than later, and so I learned like early on that it's okay to erase as many times as you
Yeah.
need to, and try again.
Yeah, and there's no shortage of amazing art videos on YouTube now too, like David Finch's channel. For a while there, Richard Friend, who was he's an inker, but he's also a really good penciler. Like he was putting out a lot of videos, and I'm just like, man, if I had all this when I was younger, I very well might have achieved that dream of taking the branch timeline where I didn't become a full-time martial arts instructor
Right.
and
Yeah.
business owner and then I in some parallel multiverse I am a pro artist somewhere. I very well could have happened, I think, with those that level of resources and stuff at my fingertips.
Yeah. I'm a Patreon member of Richard, so I definitely saw all of those lessons. I drew
Yeah.
along with it. He critiqued I had tried my best to send my work out to everybody to get critiques, and Richard
Yep.
was one of them. And David Finch had me on a stream, so it
Nice.
was yeah. It sounds crazy because it's like it shouldn't be this like available almost like these guys who
I
draw
know.
like these awesome, drawings. They're just like you can just kind of get onto a stream and they'll review it with like out that
Yeah.
you
It's
know.
a whole different world and it's so cool. Like the accessibility is there. Yeah, Richard, he's done a couple. I paid him to do basically a couple critiques, like where where you could pay him to do like a private video and send him some pieces, and he would. Yeah, that guy went above and beyond, man. He would say
Mhm.
like you're paying for like a 15-minute critique or whatever, and then the friggin' video I would get back would be like 40 minutes long of him
Yeah.
like, and then he's like emailing me examples and stuff, pictures and all of this. It was like got more than my money's worth for sure.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these artists, they're like itching to teach people too, because they don't have
Yeah.
that studio that they can teach young artists in anymore.
Yeah, it's really different times with everybody, you know, working remotely and all of that. And speaking of it being different times, like in how things have changed and all of this, it's given people like yourself an opportunity to go out here and put together your own creator, own stuff and get it in front of people. So we would be remiss to not talk about your Kickstarter that you have going on. I believe it kicked off back on January 14th, right?
Yeah, it did.
So, Pillowhead.
The
First of
name.
all, first of all, we got to go over how would you come up with the name?
Do you know? Okay, 90s alternative rock band Failure.
Okay, vaguely.
They're a band, and I discovered them on Spotify, and I was obsessed with them in high school. But they have a
Okay.
song, and it's called Pillowhead, and
Ah,
so
gotcha.
it's a totally different thing. But I just love that name, like Pillowhead. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
like really weird. So yeah, I just used that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you sent me a little preview PDF. I feel very privileged to have this insider secret info. And I got to tell you, man, Quimby, that character cracked me up, dude. Where'd you come up with that? Like, it's such a unique idea. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Like, but let's say he's just changing his appearance randomly here and there,
Yeah.
and it's hilarious.
Yeah, with the book, I just used gags from like I always thought of the book as like Scott Pilgrim, but you inject it with like a Cartoon Network level of like wackiness. And
That's funny because I was gonna say, in regard to your style, I was gonna kind of say I picked up on that kind of Cartoon Network type
yeah,
of vibe there.
yeah, I was looking at a lot of like Powerpuff Girls and thinking
Yeah,
about Gennady Tarkovsky, his action and Samurai Jack and stuff like that. And but for the writing of the book, like the characters, I started from a place of like real life, and then I kind of took cranked it to the extreme. So I just took like a real life experience of me and my friends, like how we hang out, and kind of
yeah,
cranked our personalities up to 10. And
nice.
yeah,
So give everybody a little bit of the elevator pitch of what Pillowhead is, and the Kickstarter, and what the backing the Kickstarter will provide them, because I think you're going to do some actual print books that you're going to send out, and all of that to everybody when it gets backed. So let everybody know kind of the summary of the concept, because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun story. There were several parts where I was laughing out loud, and just thought it was very unique and different than a lot of the things you read out there.
nice. So Pillowhead, it's about these two friends, these two best friends who they go to this board game cafe. They're locals and they have a subscription there, but they get kind of bored because they only played the same like 3 or 4 games, and so they ask the clerk like, "Hey, is there any interesting game that we can play? Like, or else we're just gonna end our subscription here." And he tells them like, "Yeah, we have a pretty cool board game, but it's been stolen by the
Right.
Woodland Ninja Clan." And Pillowhead and his friend Quimby, they both want to journey to the woodland where the ninjas are and retrieve the board game back. That way they can play it. But getting there, it's going to be not easy. It's not just going to be they go from the board game place straight to the woods.
Yep.
There's all these different obstacles they have to go through, and at the end of the book, it's mainly about the journey and less the destination. You know.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull up a screen share and show everybody the Kickstarter page here, and then
Okay.
we can talk a little bit about the preview artwork and everything. I'm impressed, dude. You're already very much far along in the funding for as early on as you are. That's great.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah. I got a lot of support so far, which is really cool because usually when people say you start a Kickstarter, you want to have a strong following, and
Yeah.
usually you might want to be more well known. Like might have already have Spider-Man or Wolverine on your belt as an artist, so it's a
Right.
little bit harder to just get in there out of nowhere, uh,
Definitely.
especially when the book isn't like a superhero or like something more mainstream. But I'm just hoping that the art and the concepts are like funny enough, interesting enough that people will give it a shot.
I'm gonna scroll down here. I think we should play the trailer for everybody. You want to play the trailer for everybody?
We can play the trailer. Yeah, sure.
The finger pointing. We're on the Kickstarter page here. We just watched the trailer. And I'm gonna scroll down. We'll talk a little bit about this artwork. Are you doing this all digital, I'm guessing? Or are
The
you doing a lot of
cover,
it?
the
You're
cover
doing a
is a
lot of
mix
it.
of digital and traditional, but the whole book was done on the Procreate though.
Okay, nice. Love the cover.
Thank you.
Giving me 90s vibes. Crouching on top of a broken brick thing.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about like almost Jim Mahfood, how he draws buildings and like how it
Yeah.
makes it look cool. So like
And we
something like
have
on
our
MTV.
our woodland ninja clan who
Yeah.
look very spooky. We don't have spoilers on here. Lettering redacted. Smart. Yeah, just it has a very animated style to it, which I thought was really cool.
Oh yeah, and it was just really new for me because I don't really draw in an animated style. I would say
Right.
I've always been trying to draw more in a mainstream comic book style, but with this book, I just decided that it was the proper tone for the story, and so I decided to give it a shot.
And this is another character they come across to help in their adventure. Alice, right?
Yes, this is Quimby's sister.
Okay. Yeah, and there's Quimby's face, one of many faces Quimby has. I love it. So rewards, physical copy, 21 pages story, 4 pages concept art, and preview of the, oh, you already got issue 2, or issue two's in the works, huh?
Yep, I just finished page 12 right now of issue 2 today, recording this. But you guys, if you
Oh,
get the
sweet.
Kickstarter, you get the first 7 pages.
Very cool, man. I encourage everybody to get on here and back this. This is very fun, very unique book. All right, I'm gonna stop the screen share here, and we'll chat some more here because I want to know about some of your other works that you've done prior to this.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
what else have you done? Because I saw on there you said you'd done some other stuff that's available on your website.
right. So I have a website which has my old comic book. So Pillowhead isn't the first comic book I've ever made. I've made about like 5. And so the first one, though, the first 2 were webcomics. One was called Hearts and Fishes. One was called In the Valley. That one had 2 issues. It was a vampire story. And then I had this other sci-fi book called Star Estranged. And I put these all up for free on like my Instagram, my Twitter, my website. But Hearts and Fishes is the one on my website, and I also have a couple of mini comics that I put on there, just like 4-page short stories that I kind of was able to experiment with, like styles, penciling only, pencils with colors, just entirely on the iPad, and so just in a more animated style too. So yeah, because I just love making comics. I love making stories, and so I don't really spend a lot of my time doing pinups, doing long yeah, doing pinups. I just do a lot of comics back to back, back to back, back to
So
back.
you're doing a lot of sequential pages, a lot of
Yeah,
storytelling.
yeah.
That's awesome. What's your process like? Do you give yourself, since you are writing it and drawing it, how strict are you with yourself about going straight to the page and just like, because I know as an artist and a creator, you'll get like certain scenes in your brain. Like, do you ever get ahead of yourself and like draw a lot of it before you've really solidified the writing on it or anything like that? Or do you have a pretty good idea going in of what's happening throughout the story and going through it chronologically? How do you approach it?
Well, what I realized like when I was drawing was like what I thought was really fascinating was so I'm just gonna show an example, right? Visual example.
Yeah,
So this is the Spider-Man pinup that I did. And
nice.
if I drew the layout for this pinup a day before or maybe a week later, I feel like the drawing would be entirely different. It would just be an
Yeah,
entirely different piece. And so I think that I like the spontaneity of how you can just make something like think of something in one day or at one sitting at the drawing table and then it comes out. And so when it comes to comics, though, I usually just write a loose script in my notes, just ideas of scenes that are in my head, and
yeah.
then to actually draw those pages, then I do the layout in the same day. I do it all in one day, kind of thing. Letter it,
Okay.
color it, then I move on to the next page.
Keep it pretty fresh in your brain and approach it that way. Tackle it while the energy is there, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Is that something you developed over time and kind of found out that was the way you worked best?
I think so, because also it just led to less regret. Because I feel like the first 2 comics that I made, I had like a lot of people that were excited about this comic I made when I was like 16 or something like that. I posted on TikTok and everything, like progress of it. But the problem with that was that I didn't anticipate how much work it would be. And so I did the pencils and then I was going to go and do the inks traditionally also.
Right.
But after doing the pencils for the entire book, I was like, this is too much work to go back and ink the whole thing. And so I think that I have to make sure I just do the layout, I pencil it, ink it, color it, letter it all in one day, and then I move on to the next page, just to help me keep my energy going.
Yeah. That moving on part's always been the hard part for me Because if I
Yeah.
work on something, and maybe your process kind of helps with that, because you're kind of forcing yourself to complete it and move on. Whereas I'll look at something for a long time to the point where by the time I'm almost done, I'll be like, "Oh, I could do this better. I could do that." But similar to what our friend Joshua did with his his
Oh,
project,
yeah.
how he's like going back and redoing a lot of his pages now, right? Because he's so vastly improved from when he started it. So
Hmm.
I find the same struggle with my own work in that I need to move on, because by the time I sit here on it for too long, I'm already thinking I can do it better. I could do this better. Like I want to
Right.
start over,
Yeah.
scrap this piece. How do you overcome that?
So the way I overcame that, it actually did take practice to overcome that, and that's why I think doing so many sequential pages was really important. Because if this was my first comic book, Pillowhead, then I think I would have that like perfectionism, like I want it to be really good. But since I kind of just told myself when I was 15, like, look, you're gonna make crappy comics when you're 15, 16, 17, so just make them. And so that's what I did. I just made a bunch of comic books just to practice, and I watched an interview with Adam Kubert, and he talked about how his dad, Joe Kubert, would tell him like, "Do what you can on this page, and just move on to the next, and
Yeah.
like do your best on this page, but just move on to the next. And it doesn't matter if whatever, like, don't even go back to it. Just keep pushing forward. Like, just let it go and let it be in the past." So that's the
I've
mindset,
heard the analogy of like getting all the bad pages or all
right?
the bad art out of your system, right? And then
Yeah,
I've also heard a lot of artists say like you're not always going to do your best work on everything you do. Like you have to realize that not everything's going to be your best work, and just learn the lesson and move forward is kind of the way. I think there's a saying or an expression that says finished, not perfect, right? Like
right.
it's,
And there
and
was a
it's,
Marvel editor that would talk about how for Marvel comic book artists to kind of ease the artist's minds about the pages that they were working on.
yeah,
Find one panel that you like, and if you like one panel on the page, and the rest of the page maybe it's bad, but that one panel you like, then that's a win in my book, and just move on to the
yeah.
next page.
God, it's so much easier said than done, though.
Yeah, yeah,
I think you're on to something though, with kind of giving yourself that leeway of being like, hey, I'm young. Like it's not gonna be great at this age, so I might as well just bang these out and learn the lessons from it.
yeah, definitely.
So I wanted to go back and rewind a little bit and talk about some of the artists that you've found a lot of inspiration on
Mhm.
through. Like we've talked about a few of them, but who are some artists that you've really looked to as you've been coming up? And the other question kind of ties together with that. I wanted to ask you, like, did you seek out any formal training, like drawing classes or anything, or has all your learning been more via YouTube and these different things, Twitch with Jim Lee and all that good stuff?
Okay. So for the inspiration part, I think my like top five inspirations, like consistently, are usually like Bill Sienkiewicz, John Paul Leon, uh, Mark Silvestri, and the fifth one, or the fourth and fifth one. That's like it kind of just changes between like um, there's two types of artists that I like. There's the ones that do like very simple, like no hatching, no line work. So like Mike Mignola, like very
Yeah,
graphic art. And then there's the other side that's like very rendered. And so I think the struggle with me in my whole life so far, my artistic life, has been like, do I want to be this rendered artist or do I want to be this simplified artist? And
yeah.
so I think I'm kind of just been that's kind of just still what I've just been working on. And so I have inspirations from both those realms. Um,
I think if you're trying to get a lot of stuff done and you're penciling, inking, coloring, like doing a heavily rendered style would be very tough.
Yeah, that's what I told myself actually. So I decided before Pillowhead, I actually was doing. I was planning on doing a different Kickstarter for a different book, and I was halfway through that book. It was my own superhero book finally, and I penciled like up to page 16 on the board, and I would ink it on my iPad. But the workload of heavily rendered art with the heavily rendered inking too, and then I'm gonna color it,
Yeah.
which was like I wanted to really render in the colors too. I did like a couple pages with that, and then the lettering, it was like it was too much. And so I think I just kind of told myself like in the future, if I have the luxury of having time, because time is money at this point. So if I have the time to just like work on this giant book that I can do, then I think I would. But as of right now, I think the simpler style it'll work for my
Yeah.
favor. Um,
And then
and then
as
I forgot
far
the second
as
part of the
the
question.
as
Yeah.
far as the training, like
Oh, okay.
teaching, learning art, have you sought out any formal training, or have you been mainly sticking with like YouTube and books and that those types of methods?
So in high school, I did the Comic Pro boot camp courses.
Oh, sweet. See,
Yeah,
another invaluable resource that I would have killed to have when I was in high school.
yeah, yeah. So my dad paid for that, and so I did. There was the online sessions during like the COVID
Yep.
era, and so I learned so much from that, like stuff I still
Dude,
use.
I've done two of them. So I've done one
Mhm.
with Ryan Benjamin, and then I just not too long ago did the Wills Portaccio one. And both, just like you said, I learned so much on there.
Yeah, exactly. And so from that, and then from Patreon, like yeah, like Richard Friend, I feel like that's it's not formal, but it's seeking out something other than a high school art class or like a personal tutor or something like that.
Yeah. And
So yeah,
it's more directed towards the type of art you're wanting to do as well.
right, yeah,
Because a lot
exactly.
of times the traditional drawing classes, whether it be in high school or college, are like, here, draw this bowl of fruit, or draw this
Yeah,
still life type of thing. And when you're wanting to draw comics, like, yes, that stuff's important. You do need to know how to draw regular objects, but we all know we're wanting to draw like gigantic buff dudes punching through walls and flying around and stuff.
definitely, yeah. And I think Progo is like the closest that we have, like I have to formal training, I guess, which is just
Yeah.
like he has all that backlog of all these like formal ways of learning art that I went through all the time. So yeah, there's that.
Did you get that Marvel course on there?
Actually, I didn't get that one. No, I wanted
It's
to get
really
the perspective
it
one.
it's really good. Like it's yeah, I'm still working my way through it. There's so
Oh,
many videos, like so much content on there, but it's cool to see like input from so many different pro artists on there and getting everybody's different perspective on things. So yeah, and Ryan Benjamin has a bunch of videos on there too, so
right.
it's pretty cool.
And it's cool that they're having more comic book artists come on that because I think
Totally.
because the even though it's there's more comic book related things on YouTube than and there's access versus like in the past. I think compared to maybe animation or concept art, there's not really that many comic book
Yeah.
videos. So
Yeah, and to my understanding, Proco was a pretty big comic book fan coming up. So I've
yeah,
heard him talk about it, things here and there. So I think he was very heavily, he has a love for that stuff, which is probably why it found its way on there eventually.
yeah, exactly.
So right now, the Kickstarter, it started on the 14th of this month, right? And how long is it running?
It's gonna end on the 14th of February at midnight for Pacific
Or was
Standard.
I wrong? Did it start earlier in this month or was it the 14th of January?
It was the 14th of January is when
Mm,
I started it. Yeah,
perfect. So you're doing the full 30-day run on there.
yeah, 30-day run, and it's all or nothing. So we'll see how it goes. But
It's
I'm
how the
excited.
the wild west that is Kickstarter. Have you ever done
Yeah.
any other Kickstarter stuff in the past, or is this your first venture on there?
This is my first venture on there. Yeah, I've never done any
Okay.
Kickstarters.
I'll tell you from everybody I know that does it, even successful pros that have done many Kickstarters, don't be scared because people like to wait till the last minute to back stuff.
Oh,
So
okay.
you'll get right up to the wire. Like my buddy Will Robson, he's done a ton of stuff for Marvel and DC and stuff. And his last Kickstarter, it was like got right up towards the end and it was like stalled. And he's like, "Oh man!" And then boom, right across the finish line. So it's kind of how it goes, even when you're a name. So that's why I was telling you, I'm so impressed to see like the amount you already have backed on there this early in it. I think you're gonna be good to go.
Hopefully, thank you for saying that because it's
Yeah,
definitely a worry. Because I mean, it's my first time trying to put my comic books in print for a lot of people yet because I printed a
yeah.
small run before, but that was out of my own pocket. So this is just obviously very different.
Yeah, and it's not cheap. I don't know if people realize that. Like there are
Yeah.
more places that do it now for like smaller runs and things. Like I'm not sure who are you gonna. Do you know who you're gonna use to have them printed and everything? You done your research on all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna probably use Comics Wellspring.
That's the big one that keeps popping up. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've heard good things about them, and they look like they'll kind of make things as affordable as possible for people when you're getting on there. Are you gonna do any if you get more backing than you're expecting, if you go over your goal, are you gonna do any stretch goals or anything or any I know Comics Wellspring, they'll do like friggin' chromium covers and everything else on there.
yeah. Hopefully, it's kind of crazy because I've really never really done prints or stickers, and so if the funding goal gets past what it is, then that's the perfect chance to experiment with that, do
Yeah.
some of that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like I'm picturing that cover already. That would look really cool and
Yeah.
the chrome, a little extra pop on there.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
awesome, man. Well, listen, I want to give you a little chance to let everybody know where they can find you online, the
Yeah.
best places to follow you. Obviously, I'm gonna put the Kickstarter in the show notes and everything so people can find that. But the stage is yours to let everybody know where to follow you on social media, your website. Take it away, my friend.
So I'm on Instagram at Dom Gomez Art, and you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, which I don't really use Blue Sky, but TikTok, Dom Gomez Art. But it got deleted recently, but I realized I still have my login on my iPad, so I'm
Oh,
good.
okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I recently started posting on YouTube. I did my first vlog, kind of. So,
Oh, nice, man. I'm gonna check that out.
oh, cool.
So you got a
Yeah,
YouTube channel too?
yeah. I was supposed to like be posting daily, but just after that
It's
first
hard.
post, I'm like, man, this is a lot of work. So
It's
it's
hard,
gonna be
man.
tough.
Yeah, especially if you decide to go for like long form stuff. Yeah, it takes a bit. I would tell you like get on there and do a bunch of shorts.
Okay.
Like nobody watches more than like a minute, bro. I'll tell you from the analytics on this, like even though the podcast is getting good viewership, like you
Yeah.
can go on the analytics and look and it's like, oh, a minute and a half is before they clicked away or like the
Yeah.
attention span is it's tough. So but the shorts, they get like hundreds more views and everything, so maybe break things down a little bit for people and tease them along and then put a long form one out. don't
Right.
don't stress yourself. And there's also apps to where you could make something long form and then give it the link to that and it'll chop it up into your short
Oh,
clips, and
that'd be
then you can
really
pick and choose
convenient.
from them. Yeah, and then it's a way to like, oh, if you enjoyed it, like click here for the full video.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, this whole world, it takes a lot of, the learning curve is big. It's like
Yeah.
learning art and then learning social media. It's like both come with their own challenges.
That's what they don't tell you about being a comic book artist is like you don't just make good work and then that's it. Like you have to
Yeah,
market yourself all the time, and even then like it's I mean like I have a group chat with all of like Josh and all these other like 19-year-old artists, and the one that's like the one that recently just got a gig, just graduated from the Kubert School. And so it seems like, that Joe Madureira breaking in at 16, that's just not real anymore because
yeah,
maybe, maybe the work's not as good as Joe because he's one of the best. But
Yeah.
I think just the competition is so huge now because of social media, and so you have to really try to stand out.
Yeah, we've talked about this on here quite a few times. It's like a double-edged sword now because you
Yeah,
have the availability, you have the ability to put yourself out there so much easier and have access to all these resources and everything else, but that also means everybody else out there has the same ability to do the same thing, right? So
yeah,
I think there's a lot more competition than there was back in the day, than when people would like find the means to get to a con and show their portfolio and everything. It's like you can have your portfolio out there within, half an hour. You could do a ton of Instagram posts and everything and
yeah,
start getting likes and follows, and it's crazy. You get on there, and I know you're this way too. Like there's new artists popping up on there every day with phenomenal work.
yeah. No, there is every age range and from anywhere, and so
Yeah.
it's just it's about, I guess, being consistent. And I guess what I'm hoping to do is just have a backlog of work that I can show that
Yes.
I'm able to start something and finish it. Like even this Kickstarter, I made sure that finished the book before I made the Kickstarter,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
big. That's really big, and it shows like if you do ever want to submit work to an editor or get in with a publisher, you're showing that you can do the work and get the work done, and you're showing that you can tell stories, and your sequential storytelling is there because you've been working on it, which is, to my knowledge, one of the common things that most editors have to go over with people is, hey, stop bringing me pinups, stop bringing me pictures, covers. Like, I need to see that you can tell a story if we're going to give you work. So
yeah,
you kind of put your focus in the right place, in my opinion, going with that approach of saying, no, I'm just gonna do storytelling.
yeah. And I feel like I figured that doing the storytelling would mean that um, it would it would have more impact, I guess, social on social media and stuff. But I feel like it's
Right.
almost harder because the kinds of comic books that people like to see on social media are the funny web comics that are like
Right.
almost like not even finished sketches of just some
Mm-hmm.
characters. And so doing like sequential stuff and posting that online, it's like it's way harder, I feel like, to get likes and follows and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Ultimately, I feel like you need to do what's true to yourself, though.
Yeah.
And if you put it out there, good things will come back to you. It's just a matter of staying consistent and keep putting it in front of people. That's the main thing. Like, you're gonna get people like me that see your stuff and find it unique and fun and enjoy the style, enjoy the writing. Like, I just really appreciate the fact that you reached out to me and sent me that preview, and we got to get you on here, man.
Well, thank you so much for looking at it and having me on because it's
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I would hope you would like to come on again, man. 'Cause
Oh yeah.
I would chat art with you if you ever want to get in on here and draw together or something. I mean, we could always do that. Like, that's always fun. Like, let's keep this going. Let's keep getting you out there in front of people.
I saw the newest Spider-Man breakdowns that you've been doing, which has been
Nice,
fun.
nice.
So yeah,
Yeah, we
stuff
had
like
fun
that.
with that. Very cool, buddy. Well, listen, I want to encourage everybody to go out and support this Kickstarter for Pillowhead. Support Mr. Dominic Gomez. He's an awesome guy, young up and coming talent, and you got till February 14th to get on there and back that. I'm going to make sure to put all the information, all your socials, all the Kickstarter page and everything on the show notes for this. So, Mr. Dominic, thank you again. You have a good night, and hang out with me for a moment while I
Yeah.
tell everybody where they can find the podcast. Obviously, if they're listening to this, they probably already know, but I want to encourage you guys to head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@nerdymewsings. If you're enjoying the show, give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, a share, all that good stuff. Same thing on any major audio podcast platform. You can find us on there. I don't think we've gotten a single review yet over on Apple Podcasts. So if anybody wants to claim first on that and you're enjoying the show, you want to give us a good review, feel free to do that. And in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.